Hi everyone, today we're here with the Duffer brothers, which are the creators, directors, and screenwriters of Stranger Things, and we're gonna try to tell the making of Stranger Things in 3 acts. So let's start from the beginning. Act 1, the inciting incident. I want to talk about the now famous pitch deck, the document that used to convince Netflix to produce the show. And who were the Duffer brothers before Stranger Things?
We had made a movie for Warner Brothers. It was barely released. Warner Brothers. It was a small movie. It was,
What was the budget?
The budget was around $10 million. For us at the time, at age 27, that was a lot of money. But for Warner Brothers, that was really small budget. And then we worked on a television show, Shyamalan-produced television show called Wayward Pines. That was our first TV gig, and we learned TV that way. And we then came up with this TV idea. It wasn't called Stranger Things at the time. It was called Montaggio. We wrote the first script. It wrote itself really quickly, which we thought was a good sign. It just came very naturally to us, and then we developed the pitch deck. We attached producers, Sean Levy and Dan Cohen at 21 Laps, and then we went around pitching it. And I would say the first week did not go very, very well. So it's so funny because a lot of the elements of the show that are now credited for why it works, specifically the kids in the 80s, were the two things that were most disliked by the executives.
Which for today's standard is absurd, because that's the thing now, right?
I know, right? So they said, period pieces don't sell, and you can't have kids in a show that's not made for kids. Can you just center it around Hopper and so on? So, I think the lesson there is just to write what appeals to you, and as much as possible, don't listen to what the industry is saying that they want, and hopefully it connects with someone. And eventually it did. It connected with Netflix. Netflix got it, and they understood it, and they wanted to make it, and they took a chance on us, even though we were not established at all. In fact, had quite a poor track record.
But I know that you were trying to write a lot of found footage back then.
Right.
You thought that was,
Right. Yeah, I think and that's what Matt is saying, is it's like we were chasing what we thought the industry wanted. We're trying to sell a spec script, to get something made for cheap. And then it really, once we stopped doing that and trying to chase the trends, because first of all, you're always going to be behind. And second of all, the work that we were doing wasn't that inspired, because it wasn't what we really wanted to be doing. And so if it's not something that you love, then it's never going to be great. And so the one thing we knew about this show, even though it took a second to sell, was like, we love this. And part of it came about of going, if we could see any show on television, what would it be? What would it look like? And this was what it came to be. It was, I still remember even the early days before we had written the pilot. We were talking to had some general with an exec, and we're like, it's like if the long lost Stephen King book was found by Steven Spielberg and he directed it, and we just got blank stares, and I was like, what? I haven't even written it, but how could you not think that sounds amazing? And so we just sort of despite the blank stares, we just went with our gut.
But let's go back to the pitch deck.
Yes.
Was that something that you made that you were aware that could help your work, or was that something that you felt natural? You wanted to do this style, and was it conscious?
Pitch decks were fairly popular at the time, and it's always good to have visuals so that they can understand. It helps them understand what the show is and what it's going to look like and what it's going to feel like. And we wanted to evoke these Stephen King novels from the 1980s and films from the 1980s. So it actually didn't take us very long to put that together. We're kind of quite mediocre at Photoshop, but we were just good enough to make that pitch deck.
And I think that's part of it too. It's like knowing our level of skill at Photoshop, and sometimes you see people when they're putting visual presentations together to go too far, and it's like, well, what do we know that we can do? And we can do classy. And if you look back at the pitch deck, it's relatively simple in its design, and a lot of it is just stills and from movies. And again, it's something that we knew before we set out. We're like, we know we can accomplish this at a relatively high level
with this beautiful like paper overlay. That's
exactly
so good.
Thank you.
Yeah. But I will say, remember this, Ross? It was we were actually with a different set of producers. We weren't with 21 Laps initially, and they told us that television executives don't know movies, so you can't use movie references to pitch the show. And I was like, they don't know Jaws?
Yeah.
Like, they haven't seen E.T.? And then we left those producers.
Yeah.
That was not a smart thing to say to us. Because I was like, I just don't know how to pitch it then.
Yeah.
I don't know how to pitch it. So we moved and we switched producers to 21 Laps.
Well,
I do think they regret that.
I think so, right? Looking back.
Yeah, looking back.
Let's go into Act 2. And
Yeah.
so the first challenges. You were, like you said, like pretty early in your career. So you get thrust into this giant machine because, I mean, it was one of the first shows at Netflix, but was still a big product.
Yeah.
So was there, any problems on adapting to this big production, or was just, right on the get-go the thing that you wanted from day one?
Netflix at the time was very different. I mean, I remember going to pitch at Netflix and it looked like a dentist's office, for real. I mean, it was small.
Okay.
And there was something very intimate about it. And yeah, there weren't that many shows on the air at the time. It was, obviously they had House of Cards and they had Orange is the New Black. I think we were really the first not very established showrunners that they were making a show with, because they had filmmakers. They had David Fincher and Shinji Cohen and so forth. But honestly, they gave us, even back then, even given the fact that we had a really bad track record, they gave us an incredible amount of creative freedom. We were on a really long leash. Nobody was ever, it was kind of shocking actually looking back on it now, because we were 31, there was nobody from Netflix really ever on set. We were just...
Like no exec on set?
No. We were very much allowed to do our own thing, but that was very much by design on Netflix's part. I mean, the brilliance of Netflix and the philosophy was, listen, we're going to bet on certain creative people as much as possible. We're going to stay out of their way. So Ross and I are now producing for the first time, and that's our philosophy. We've stolen Netflix's philosophy, because I think you can start to. I think when you're hovering, it doesn't help anything. When we have other directors on the show, say when you have someone as talented as Sean Levy, or this year we had Frank Darabont, I'm not going to hover over them. What am I going to do? How am I going to help them out? So, and it's the way we approach working with our production designer and our costume designer. We don't micromanage them. We're very careful about who we hire, and that we're working with people who share our vision and who are extremely talented, and we try to stay out of the way. I think that that shows a level of trust that is important and leads to people doing their best work.
But was there a moment on set on the first season where you looked at, the set, like a giant techno crane, and you went, this is big. Like,
yeah. I think it was really, I remember the feeling, because we were walking, when we were in the writer's room, and then when we came to set, they were in the middle of building, like, the Wheeler house. And our production designer, he's been with the show every season, Chris Trujillo, I can't believe they let us hire him either. He comes from, I had known him for a while, he came from small indie films.
Okay.
And so this was for him, too. So we were all just walking around the set being like, I can't believe they're allowing us to do this. It was a very surreal. We had come from making a relatively small budget movie, and we were terrified about going over budget. So first 2 episodes, and if you watch the first season, you'll see this. There's no crane moves at all, because we didn't ask for one. And then Sean comes in, because we had more writing to do, so he swooped in and did episodes 3 and 4. And he had like a techno crane every day, and we were looking at the dailies, and we're like, "What?
We can do
just
that
ask
too?
for this?" And so we started. If you watch season 1, there's more and more techno crane shots as it goes on.
Yeah. No, I would know. We had a conversation with our line producer. Like you can't let Sean have all the Techno Crane days. We need some Techno Crane days.
Now we get to the midpoint, and everything changes, and you know, big success of the first season. But I don't know how you got into the writing room of the first season, but from the pitch deck from the original idea, it was just a one-off season. It was just a limited series, right? And now you have to write the rest of the story. So how did you approach that thing? Like you had it in your mind, or it was something that you had to find?
Well, yes, as you're saying, season 1 as originally devised was going to be a limited series. By the time we pitched it to Netflix, it had evolved because we learned that no one wanted limited series anymore, and so we're like, yeah, it can go on. Will can be
right.
He was in another dimension. He's probably not doing well. That was literally the only pitch we gave them for season 2.
We'll figure it out.
But then the show
exactly.
But then the show came out and it was successful, and so we started writing season 2, and it was, oh my God, this is an ongoing series now, and so the mistake we made, although it sort of ended up being a positive, was that as we were writing season 2, we just threw a gajillion ideas at it in terms of explaining the mythology, explaining everything that was going on in Hawkins, and we just put it all into the season. And I remember pitching it to Netflix, and they were like, "That's a lot," but they were very kind about it. But as we immediately started writing the season, we're like, "This is way too much." But what it gave us is this grab bag of ideas that we would then carry on through season 3, season 4, even season 5. So it really was that like initial month of breaking season 2, where most of our sort of big series-long arc ideas came from.
Do you have a document, like you have a book with all the things that you pick from?
We were working on season 1, and Netflix was getting confused by the mythology, and our point was, well, you're not supposed to understand it. That our characters don't understand what's going on, and that's what's that creates the mystery, and that's what makes it feel real. But they still wanted a mythology document so that we could prove to them that we knew what we were talking about, and that there was a solid foundation underneath everything we were writing. And I think it was good that they had us write that, and we wrote a 20-page document, and it really went into a lot of detail in terms of exactly what the Upside Down was, and it forced us and our writers to really flesh all of that out. So, and over the course of 10 years, we've been revealing it little bit by little bit.
The season 2 stuff, I'm sure it's in there somewhere, in some Google Doc somewhere. It's there.
Well, I would say I don't know. We haven't actually even talked about this, but the end of season 2, what was originally supposed to be the climax of season 2, a lot of that made its way into season 5. It's in the climax of season 5. That's how many ideas were in the season.
So it was like season 2. 4 seasons in one season.
It really was. It really was.
Yes.
But did you cheat a little? There were some things that you figured out later that you went back and we decided this, but now it's better to do that.
I don't know.
I don't want to know what.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay.
It was all perfectly planned.
Right. Now, you were talking about, trying to not go with what everyone else is doing and just do your own thing. Yeah. But isn't it a bit ironic now that you made that thing that everyone is chasing after? You made 80s kids and, this atmosphere that has been, reproduced a lot. So how do you feel about?
Well, it's not like we created this genre. I would say maybe we helped revive it. It was a type of storytelling, obviously, that was quite prevalent in the 1980s, and sort of the Spielberg, Stephen King style of storytelling. And so we loved that type of story. We loved those films. We loved those books, and we wanted to bring it back, and specifically wanted to bring it to television. We got it. I remember watching that True Detective trailer and being very excited by it because of how cinematic it looked, because it looked like a movie, but it was a television show.
10 more movies.
Right. So it's like, what does a Spielberg television show looks like? And what would it look like if Spielberg were directing, a long lost 1,000-page Stephen King novel. Would that not be the coolest thing ever? Would that make us more excited than anything else? And
they've been adapting a lot of Stephen King books like in the last 10 years.
That's true. Yeah, exactly. So anyway, that's what really got us excited. So if we've helped provide that type of storytelling or encourage studios to take chances on that type of storytelling, great.
Now I'd like to get into the fun and games part of the second act. And what I love about movie making is that while you're on set, sometimes it's a bit silly. Like it's sometimes you look at what you're doing and you go, what are we even filming? I know this is gonna look cool, but this is stupid. This looks stupid right now.
All the time.
One episode that comes to mind is the time you had one of your writers, I think, just play the demo dogs because her proportions were right for killing Sean Austin. Were there any other moments, I'm sure there are, where you thought, this is strange, like this is crazy?
Well, I think the most terrifying moment was season 1, and we were finishing the last two scripts, but we were in Atlanta, and Sean was filming the sequence where the Demogorgon, it's post the Christmas lights, and it comes out to attack Joyce and scares her out of the house. And the Demogorgon season 1 was a guy named Mark. In a
like
suit.
Mark
in a suit, and he was and you have to light it in a specific. I mean, the monster suits are great, but in the wrong lighting, the wrong lens, it can look very silly. And we just walked by, and it was just Mark just like swatting at these Christmas lights, and Sean was shouting, he's like, "You hate those Christmas lights! You hate them! Kill them!
You're angry!
You're angry!" And I just was like, "This is."
Ross and I immediately.
We just walked. We're like, we are never gonna work again. And this is the worst show ever made. This is like Mystery Science, and so it's those moments are scary. And you have Winona just holding up all the Christmas lights and crying. It's like you have to. It is scary, but some of those moments are the best in the show, where it's like, man, if this goes wrong, this could go really wrong. But we want to take risks, and we want to take challenges, and it's okay to do things that if you just are on the wrong side of the line, it could be very silly. But if you're on the right side of the line, it could be really special.
One thing that I really love in movie making is that the use of like very exaggerated resources to do one small thing. Like, was there any when you build a set and then you use it just for one take and that's it, it's great, let's go. Like, was there any moments like that during those 5 seasons?
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, we try not to do that because it's kind of not the best use of money.
Well, I remember that was a lesson, though. That's what led to the mall on season 3, was because season 2 we built, our production designer and set designer, like, they built this amazing arcade.
Right.
And we couldn't figure out in the plot how to get back there, but we had all these amazing video machines. It was very expensive, and we're like, we don't need to go back. And so for 3, we're like, do not make that mistake again. So when we came up with the idea for a mall, one of our writers pitched it early on. We said, this is great, but we have to make sure that it figures in the plot, and that we're going to keep going back there, and we'll be back there in the finale because we didn't want to make that mistake again.
And yeah, I mean, that's a lesson we've carried with us this year. Our production designer built an incredible radio station, and that's serves as the base of operations for our characters. So we're there all the time. But of course, we have a lot of different sets, so it doesn't end up feeling like a set.
But I think we use all of them appropriately.
Yeah, I think for the right amount of time.
You have a checklist, and you go, okay, this has been used enough. We can move on.
But there's one set that's made arguably the best set we've ever had that doesn't figure, that you won't see until volume 2, that I wish we had been in a little bit more because it's so fantastic.
Yeah. And the squawk was great, the radio station, but by the end I was like, I can never come into this radio station ever again.
Thank God it was a cool set.
Thank God it was a cool set.
The mall in season 3 was a real mall that you reused.
Indoor malls aren't doing very well.
Well, here in Italy they are.
They are?
Yeah, sure.
I mean, we have these
That's
like the half outdoor, half indoor malls are doing pretty well in the States, but not the full-on indoor mall. So this was a dying mall. So there was a huge section of it that was not in use.
Okay.
So it had all these empty storefronts. So our production designer and art director and set deck just took over this space and built an 80s mall and an 80s food court. It was, I mean, even, you know, talking to our actors, it's everyone's favorite set that's ever been on the show because it was fun to just hang out there.
It was a whole world. You could walk into any of the stores and there's just, you know, 80s merch everywhere. It was a fully alive environment, and it was
fun to shoot in too.
Yeah, you could get a crane in there.
Yeah,
Right.
We did, and we did.
One more than Sean Levy.
Yeah.
I still think Sean probably has more techno crane days than we did.
So let's get into the third act.
Yeah.
And let's get to the dark night of the soul, you know, the moment where you're not sure you're going to make it.
Mm-hmm.
And so was there, apart from, you know, season 1, the Demogorgon that was angry at the lights, apart from that, was there a moment later on where you thought, this is difficult, that we might not make it, we might not get to the end of this? Not necessarily the end of the season, the end of, you know, one particularly bad day of work, one particularly bad writing session.
There's so many days like that. There's so many.
I remember season 2 was probably the most challenging and the scariest because we had to follow up this show, and that was kind of going to define whether it would work as an ongoing series or not, and it's not something we had ever done before. And we wrote the first couple of scripts and we realized something was absolutely not working about it, and we just went to our writers and said we have to throw a lot of this out and start again. And we were under a really tight deadline at that point. We were making the show much faster.
How much time does it pass from writing to shooting? Like, you have the first episode figured out while you start shooting, or you have...
We've had, like, it depends. Generally, the goal is always to have all the scripts written. That we've never achieved that.
Okay.
Like season 1, we had like 5.5 scripts written by the time we started filming, and so generally we're around there 5 or 6 of the scripts, and then we're writing the the final 2. Season 4 being the exception because of the pandemic, so we had all the time in the world to write it. But otherwise, and for season 5, it was really it was the last, mostly the last script, which is scary because you're in the middle of production. There's so much going on. There's constant noise, and you have to we would have to keep sort of shutting it out and blocking it out and trusting our other directors and ADs and everyone to keep the ship running, or while we were focused in and writing that script.
I have a love-hate relationship with TV because of that, because it feels like the train's going down the tracks, but not all the tracks have been laid. So
there's no movie that starts without a full script.
Right. So
sure. Like, it should not be.
Are we talking about Marvel, or are we talking about what are we talking about?
It's not the usual way to do a movie.
It's not advisable, right? So, but so you're kind of laying down the tracks as you're going, and there's something kind of exhilarating about it. It's similar to, it's fun sometimes to show up on set and you haven't had a lot of time to prepare or shot list, and there's something improvisational about it, and you come up with a lot of good ideas. There's something nice about that versus having all the time in the world to sort of procrastinate and overthink. I think for a long time, Ross and I paralyzed ourselves and wrote, frankly, pretty bad scripts because we overthought them to such a degree.
Right.
So there's something very, very exciting about it, but on the other hand, if you realize 6 episodes, 7 episodes in that you wish you had set up something in an earlier episode, and there's nothing really to do about it. Okay. I mean, we've never done reshoots or pickups. I mean, we do them as we're shooting, but never after the fact. So I don't know, there's something stressful about it, but something that's pretty exhilarating about it. But now, from what I understand and from producing, Netflix now requires all scripts to be done before anything goes into production. That's probably our fault.
Probably.
That's a new requirement.
The Duffer rule.
That's a
Yeah.
Duffer protocol.
Don't be like the Duffers.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're approaching the ending, and so the structure of this final season is very peculiar because I know that the season 4 structure was forced by the pandemic and wasn't really what you thought as at the beginning, but this last season was thought as a series of like movies. I'm gonna use this thing like they are small movies. So
Sort of, yeah.
how do you approach this new structure, this different structure?
Well, it was nice to know this time, like unlike season 4, which is that we knew that we were going to do a split halfway through the season. So knowing that we knew there was a particularly a big moment that happened about halfway through the season. So we knew if we wrote to that would be a great break. And so it was kind of nice because it gave the season a structure, and it allows that moment to really have its time in the sun. And then the rest of it, we thought it was initially just going to be 2 volumes, but then Netflix actually was the one that they suggested that we put the finale on its own, and we fell in love with that idea because it allows, you don't have certain fans racing through a bunch of episodes to get to the end or fast forwarding. It's like everyone can experience it simultaneously. Specifically, you're talking about movies. I mean, the finale is a movie. It's just a little over 2 hours, and it's a proper film, and it's even now getting released in some theaters, which is exciting.
Just one last thing.
Yeah.
You wrote a lot of characters that become very popular, then tragically die, but they never feel like exploitative, And how do you figure out the way to make the audience like be involved with these characters without feeling forced to like these characters because they're going to die at the end of the season for a big emotional moment?
Yeah.
I think so much of it is in the casting and just making sure you get the casting right. Eddie was probably the hardest character we've ever cast because so many of the actors who read that role just immediately did not like this guy. Joe Quinn just knocked it out of the park. So, and Bob, the character that Sean Astin played, he was a little bit different in that he was just intended and designed to die. He was not supposed to be a character you liked at all. He was supposed to be Joyce's obnoxious boyfriend, and a possessed will was going to kill him. That was our original idea. And actually, Sean Astin submitted a self-tape, which is still wild to me because he's like,
it's Sean Astin.
Oh my God! I mean, we grew up loving, Sean Astin. So once we saw him, then we went, okay, he's so lovable and such a sweet guy. I mean, Sean is, and very much like that in real life. That lent itself to the creation of what you now know as Bob, and this really sort of endearing character. So I think it's just about casting.
And I think making sure
right
each
actor.
character fills, they're important to the narrative, but also they fit in with the other characters in a way that they're bringing something that no one else in the cast brings. Because otherwise, why introduce them at all? And so we love bringing new characters. It is scary every time because the last thing you want to do is bring someone in and have the fans go, I just want to be spending time with someone else. And even if that's their initial reaction, I think, so far, our actors have done such an incredible job of not only blending in with the original group, but also making people fall in love with them.
It's fun to write new characters as much as we enjoy writing for all of our core actors and original characters. It's really fun to write to someone new, and it's really fun to make either work with an actor like a Linda Hamilton, who's someone, an actor who we've idolized growing up, but it's also fun to make discoveries and find new actors. This year we have an actress, Nell Fisher, young actor who plays Holly Wheeler, and that she feels like a discovery, and that's always such a rush.
All right, thank you guys for your time, and congratulations on season 5 and
Thank you.
the ending of this story.
Thank you,
man.
That was super fun.
Yeah, super fun.